All right, everybody, it's the Jerry Metcalf podcast. And back on the show is, I think this is a fourth time, Jeff, is Jeff Wilson with TTR Sotheby's International Realty in Washington, D.C. Jeff, it is so good to have you. Thank you for coming on.
So nice to see you. Glad to be back.
So, we have done a lot of talking offline about, as everybody knows, if you haven't heard Jeff's interviews before, we talk about you've been an agent for, I think, is it 30 years?
35.
35? You're like, let's not talk
The
about that.
MLS number is so low. Like all these agents have these like
Like, what are
nine-digit
there, like
numbers.
eight
Mine's a
digit?
four-digit
Yours
number.
is four. I was going to say that as an exaggeration. It's actually
So it
four.
really is.
I love it.
Can you
Four
see these
digit.
gray hairs coming in? I'm getting old.
Do you ever get the phone call from the other agent like, "Hey, your license number's off. It's missing some digits."
No.
All right.
Just click on my name. Everything's good.
But here's what's so cool, and that I wanted to bring you back on to talk about is you've been an agent and you've been a top agent for so long, and in that you've shared so much in your former interviews about your success. What's really interesting is there is a lot of talk right now. It is March of 2023, and the market is shifting. We just went through COVID where the market boomed, and there was that. And now all of a sudden, it's like people who had 20 listings have two. And so you've seen the market shift again and again. And so the big question, the big message in this is like, as you do this, what, you let's just like, obviously I'm just like hitting the ground running with you today, but what would you say is your, market shift? And when people see that and they get nervous, what is your advice about that?
Well, as you can imagine, and you figured out, over 35 years, I've seen a lot of shifts. You know, when I was a new agent, things were really slow. Like, I mean, not slow, like nothing sold, but just how we did the business was so different. And I remember maybe my second or third year, you literally, this is when you did everything on paper.
And what year was this? Was like 19?
Right, 19. I started in like 87, and this is probably like 89, probably before most of you were born. But there you go. I was selling houses. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was selling houses, and you saw something you like in this one moment, and you literally ran back out to your car and you wrote the offer on the hood of your car. And then you kind of ran it back into the seller, and their agent might have been there, and you tried to wrap it up that way. So, and then I've certainly lived through the times where the financial crash kind of dampened people's enthusiasm for spending money on anything, even though it was a home that they would need. We were working hard to convince people that it was still a smart move. And frankly, I'd rather buy in a down market than having to pay $500,000 over in a bidding war. So I think for me, I'm lucky that I have perspective in that I've lived through a lot of crazy ups. And luckily for our market, the crazy downs haven't really been crazy downs. They've just been slow downs. Our market, in the Washington area doesn't lose 50%, when things quiet down. I mean, maybe there's some better values, but nonetheless, like even during the market correction, I would say of 06 through 09, maybe we lost 10%. But, we're not specifically here to talk about, percentages in value and things, but markets, any market is going to change, right? So if you base your whole business model and your whole approach on the current iteration of the market, I think that's like driving with a blindfold on. I mean, like, who would do that? Of course, you're constantly, when you're driving, you're looking, you're listening, you're turning, you're braking, you're gassing. Like, it's an ongoing process. And for sure, our business has to be the same way in order to get to where we want to go. And I don't think necessarily that we specifically abandon kind of the basics of what we do to stay in touch with people and to reach out. But I think our mindset has to change. I mean, it's a very different market when that there's going to be 15 offers on every house. I talked to several people that are like, I just can't do this, like this market's too crazy, I'm
Right.
just gonna to not sell for a little while, and maybe I'll come back in a few years. And I'm like, good. One
Yeah.
down, 14 to go, like
Right.
I approach it like, not for sure I'm gonna lose, but I look at it like we could win this. Like, what is it going to take to win this? And
Yeah.
all of my skill and all of my ability to talk to people, both on the client end and on the agent end, to like sell the security of our offer and to really position my clients well and to make sure they know exactly what's going on. I don't want to say we win every bidding war, because that would just be a lie. And I know
Now,
that
in your
that
market
hurts.
there, are you guys still, because a lot of people, there's no more bidding wars. Inventory's down and sales are down.
We're there again. So I kid you
Wow.
not, like, toward the end of last year, I mean, we sold a couple things, even a couple big things, but the end of 22 was slow. The
Yeah.
rates had just gone up, and like the whole world was like, we're due for a crash. And I'm just kind of observing, and I'm like, I just need more balls in the air, to steal a Ryan Serhant metaphor or example. If
Yeah.
you got one ball in the air and the market changes, you're in big trouble, right? Maybe that ball falls, or that ball just stays in the air and nothing happens. So my advice, if anybody's looking for that, is, certainly as the market slows down, you need more balls in the air. What are you
Yeah.
doing to get more balls in the air? What are you doing
Oh,
to
like,
reach
what's your
out to more
pipeline?
people? Yeah,
Yeah.
what's your pipeline, right?
Yeah.
I
Business
mean,
is like, it's like, well, these are only my opportunities. So this is all I'm going to do. But it's like, but wait a minute. It's not, it's the journey. It's not what's in front of you. It's what you're creating for the future
exactly
right
right.
now.
What activities are you doing to bolster your pipeline? And frankly, that's a good business model, whether prices are going up, whether they're going down, whether there's 15 offers on one listing, whether you're, waiting 15 months for one offer. I mean, that's still the answer. The
Yeah.
more opportunity you create for yourself, the better insulated you're going to be from these changes. But I think in reality, we're not like stockbrokers, but of course a stockbroker is going to be using different language in a market where things are coming down than they are when things are going up. So,
So, question, and I want to, before I ask this question, I want to remind everybody what the former episodes are that we've had, because there have been four. You were episode 21, How a Clear, Concise, Simple Approach Leads to Outstanding Success. That was in 2017, everyone. Episode 57 in 2018, Marketing That Generates Results, which you have some really fun marketing. Episode 220 in May of 2021, How to Break 100 million in annual sales. And then before that was episode 130. I just skipped one. How mistakes become the foundation of success, episode 130. So everybody, this is who you're listening to. Episode 21, 57, 130, and 220 are
guy
all
who makes
so good.
mistakes and still stands at the end of the day, hopefully.
Right, exactly. The mistakes are what make you. Um, Now going back to the question today, like, it's, and all of these titles speak to this question, but you're saying create opportunities for yourself. And
Right.
what I love about that statement is I think there's a lot of perception that it's about chasing enough down. You didn't use the word chase, right? Because when you chase things, they do run from you. But creating, what are some of the best ways in a shifting market? And depending on how the market shifts, may depend on your answer. But like, what do you mean create opportunity? When you think create opportunity, what and how? What comes to mind for you? Good
So,
for everybody listening.
I heard this thing, and I'll get it completely wrong, but um, this is going to be bad, but it's something about inspiration. Like when you get an inspired thought or an idea or something, like it's almost like inspiration is this thing, right? It's this entity outside of you, and like it comes to you and it gives you an idea. And if you don't act on it, inspiration leaves and goes to somebody else, right? and
Oh,
and I don't mean like, oh, they're going to do better than you, but the point is we all get these ideas or we have these thoughts, And I'm sure they're not all like AAA, this is what I should do. Let's be real, there's going to be different qualities of our ideas or our inspiration. But what I've tried to do more recently is when I get an inspiration or somebody comes to mind or I get an idea about something, I go. I don't wait, because this whole idea of I'm going to do it later, or, I'll get to that, literally not going to happen. Same thing, like if a buyer calls me and they're like, hey, I really like your penthouse at whatever, do you think we could see it this weekend? And I'm like, sure, let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. If I don't write it down, gone.
Oh yeah. Oh
Gone.
yeah.
And that was like a $2.4 million
Well,
property.
and how about
Yeah,
creating systems to pin down
to
an
capture it.
appointment on that call,
It's exactly
right?
right. It's exactly right.
Because
So
technology these days is just accelerating so quickly. There are tools you can use to like I've started learning that as this coaching business gets
yeah,
busy, is
I
getting people
agree
access to you
completely.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the problem is, well, there's a few things. Like if you don't write it down, or you don't have a system to either capture your ideas or to leverage them or work on them or take the first step, they go. The clients go, the leads go, the great
Mm.
inspirations go, the ideas go. And, you know, I think we probably all have some $1 million ideas that come our way. And if we don't act on it, it doesn't happen, so, and you just never know where stuff is coming from. But
Well,
that's one thing.
what's interesting about what you said, two things. When you have an inspiration, perhaps the universe is calling for something that it needs to be served. And if you don't answer to it,
Exactly right. It
it's going to
moves
ask
on.
someone else. And another thing is the language you're speaking is actually a lot of times you hear so much about like, how do I find a deal? Where do I get it? It levels like, look, it's all coming, and it's up to you to be inspired and act on it. And when you don't, it goes. And because there's such an abundance of opportunity that there are messages and opportunities coming before you, and the opportunity is created when you act on it.
Yeah. So like one little story, that just, you never know where the seed is planted. Like many years ago, 5, 6, 7, I'm not sure. I'm not so good with time. Like I ended up talking to this guy who used to own this brokerage here in Washington, very well known. And I don't think I ever met the guy. I've never done a deal with him. I've never had prior spoken to him. I don't know how we ended up on the phone. I don't know. Did he call me? Did I call him? I have no idea. Right. But then we ended up out to lunch. And I think he was telling me that his son was joining our firm. And I'm like, cool. So like I wasn't thinking like, oh, I know you're going to send me all this business. I don't know why. It might have just been a curiosity lunch for me because I wanted to know this guy's story, because there's a story there and I won't repeat it
Now,
here.
this is the guy who was becoming an agent, or which guy was
No,
this again?
his son was becoming
His
an
son was
agent.
okay, just making
Either
sure.
was
Okay.
becoming or was an agent at my firm. So it was pretty clear to me that like that door was closed. Like obviously,
Right.
if there was business to be had, he was going to send it to his son, right? Fast forward, I don't know if the son's in the business. Guess what, people? Like all these people, your best clients are like, I'm getting my license. You're like, cool, you know,
Yeah.
oh, 6 months later, like I've taken a new job as a barista at Starbucks, like
So true.
surprise, not everyone lasts, neither do all of
Yeah.
us. But anyhow, so fast forward, like I get this email from him. Now, mind you, I haven't talked to him or called him or seen him since that lunch. He's like, hey, I'm working with this investment group and they're looking for projects in whatever. And I just started flipping him things, and I don't know where it's going to go, but I showed him a $2.2 million house, and I flipped him a whole bunch of other things in the 2 millions. And now we're going to have a call so I can understand like exactly what they want. I mean, I could have just blown that off. Like, who is this guy again? Like, I haven't seen him in 5 years. And so the point is, now I've got my thing. I'm like kind of looking for projects. I haven't spent a lot of time looking for projects. I'm just looking at my updates in my email. I'm like, what do you know? That's the
Yeah.
neighborhood I want to be in. That's a dump. That's perfect. Pew, flip to them. Another client on another search. I'm like, wow, that's a teardown. Pew, I'm flipping it to them. So I think I've probably flipped them like 6 properties in the span of a month because I'm thinking about it now, right?
Hmm.
I
Well, and when
the
you know,
inspiration and I'm acting on it.
as you do that, it also, you're looking, opportunities create opportunities. So now you're looking for opportunities. You have conversations, you have situations where you're serving one client and one potential opportunity. And the act of doing that probably creates more opportunities. And you might have an example
Because
for
I think the universe, if you want to get metaphysical, the universe likes motion and activity. If you really study all this stuff, our whole bodies are in motion, our cells are, the atoms, the molecules, everything's in motion. So the more
that.
motion that we achieve, the more motion we get. So I think that's part of why we need to exercise, and why, sitting in a chair for 15 hours a day is not a good idea, and all that other stuff, but we'll skip that. But I think that
I don't have to, but yeah, go ahead.
when you start to do things, even if it's writing a personal note, that's doing something. When you pick up a phone and call somebody, like an old client, like, hey, I just drove by your house, I love your planter boxes. I mean, it's not like, yes. I mean, I think if you're just out there and you're moving forward and you're acting on things and you're acting on inspiration, and frankly, you might even have a target. One target could be go drive by 5 clients' old houses and call them, because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I see a tricycle on the front lawn. Did you have a kid? Since I haven't talked to you in 10 years.
Oh, exactly.
But I mean, like,
Exactly. Well, and
create it.
here's the thing. There's two things that are coming to mind. There's motion. It's like inertia. Inertia is when something's in motion, it doesn't stop until something stops it. And when, like, whatever motion it's in. So that's where our free will comes in to create and shift the inertia, and why habits, for example, are so powerful. But also, and also behind that motion is intention.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So I have an intention to do really well and to help people. I mean,
Mm,
it goes hand in hand. I don't think that you can make a lot of money in this business if you're not helping people. I mean, you may not see it that way, but the way I see it is, buying or selling a house is a big deal. I mean, is somebody going to die if it's not done
right.
well? Are you a brain surgeon? No.
Well, if it's
If-
not helpful, why are they willing to ensure you get a substantial amount of income as a
Agree.
result
So I
of,
look at my role in people's lives as a very important role. I try not to take myself too seriously, but I definitely take my work seriously. And I feel really blessed right now to be in my shoes. And I'll just be honest about it. I've got
yeah,
35 years of experience. I've seen a lot, and I've
yeah,
dealt with a lot of people. And so I'm always a work in progress. I don't want to make anybody think that I'm full of myself. I'm not, but I'm experienced, right? And
yeah.
I will use that to my benefit and to the benefit of my clients. So because, I think I was buying a painting one time, and I was meeting with the artist, and she's this cranky, beautiful old lady up in Cape Cod, and her paintings are expensive. I love them. I'm like, I have to have more of these. I don't know. They just speak to me, right? Obviously. And
Right.
she said to me, like, one time, like, sometimes people ask me, well, how long did it take you to paint this painting? You know, the inference is like, you must have done this in just a couple hours, and you're charging like $50,000 for this. And her comment is, it took me a lifetime to paint this painting. And I'm like, there you go, right? It took, no matter where you are in your
Wow.
career, it took everything that you lived, and all of the work that you've done, and all of the studying you've done, and all the practicing you've done, all the courses you've taken to get you to that moment. So it's taken you your lifetime to get to this moment. And I'm grateful that at this point, my lifetime includes 35 years of advising people in the real estate space. So I think, because of my expertise, that I can make something happen that maybe a lesser experienced agent may not be able to make happen.
It's journey. The common theme of this conversation behind everything is the journey, and the journey that you are on. And being a broker is, look at the journey that you've been to where you are now. And when people join you on their journey to buy or sell a home, or whatever it is for them, what you bring to that part of their journey.
Exactly right. And that's truly how I see it. Like, I'm advising people at a pivotal time of their life journey.
Yeah.
If you don't
Well,
think that buying a home or selling a home isn't a pivotal moment for somebody, like you're underestimating the power of your role in their lives.
ooh, right? Like, and
Pivotal.
look
How
at
many
like,
times do you do that? How many homes are you going to own in your lifetime? And I'm not talking if you're an investor, but how many places are you going to live? And where you live, does that not define like where your kids go to school, what grocery you are, how close you are to work, what your commute is like, ultimately the quality of life of your family? That's
you
huge.
know, it, it's like it's journey, and it's what's everyone's role in a journey. For example, like as you talk about our role, your role as a real estate agent, or your role in guiding someone on their journey for a real estate transaction in residential real estate, is that's what you do. There's a part that person plays that comes to you in fulfilling their role for their family, for their investment, for their business, for whatever it is. And all of a sudden it becomes clearly defined what they need. And the places to get those things are actually not so abundant when you look at the role and serving that role at the highest. And then what you have and the journey you have and the role you serve to bring that to people. And in that role, there are two key things that you brought up that I think are really interesting are number one, and this goes into, not just super philosophical, but actual business development, which is where most people's focus is being the best in the world, as I always say it, quoting Seth Godin's book, The Dip. I recommend you read it if you haven't. But being the best in the world and intention of serving people. People are looking there. You don't buy the coffee unless in the context of who you are and what you're doing, that coffee is the best in the world that you have access to.
Yeah. And that's what I try to
You
be.
don't buy second best unless you're that 30% of the market that's buying the stuff because it's the cheapest. And if you go into that market, you compete with Walmart. And I'm not that maybe you've got the way of doing that, but I don't, right?
Yeah,
And the profit margins are a lot better when you're
I
just the
see
best in
some
the
of these
world.
big teams, and I think that's kind of where they go with it, right? They're trying to serve like the mass market, which I understand, and I'm not faulting it.
Mm.
We all get to choose like what direction we go in. My practice is more bespoke. We have, I don't want to say only a certain number of clients, but we're not selling 300 houses a year. I'd love to, but maybe not, because I also realize what would that take for me to do it the way I do it? I would be dead. I wouldn't see my kids. I could probably work my business into that iteration, but I actually don't care to, because there's other things in life that are important to me, along with, having a big business and doing well for my clients and for myself. So, I do a more bespoke approach to things. I want to be more upmarket, and
Yeah.
so everything that I do is geared toward that. So a lot of what we do is, um, and here's where I think that some agents may fall into the trap of marketing, which is just like everything digital, like killer Instagram reels, like tons of email campaigns, like I don't know, like that's probably the digital sphere, right? And I think that that's necessary, but is that the end? Mm-mm.
Well, and so interesting you bring this up because I've had a recent conversation about there's all of this focus on digital. As realtors, like when people talk about a lending conspiracy, it's like we're human beings. We're naturally tribal. So we just kind of do what everybody else is doing. Like if we think somebody's awesome, we think it because everybody else that we identify with says they're awesome without really saying, well, what's really beneath the surface of that? Because as people, we have this whole filtering system in our brains and how we make decisions. But more to the point is looking at your business, it's all digital, so everybody goes digital. But to your real question is, what is the end? And the end is determined by what is the core of your goal. What is the core of your goal, your journey, and what do you value? What is your fulfillment on this planet? How are you going to leave this place better than you left it? Assuming that's a general goal that most people have. Now, not all people.
Yeah, and I think the challenge with digital is that it's very arm's length, right? And so what I've started doing, and I've been doing for years, is, just try and personalize it, make it a little more one-on-one. Like I've got clients that I don't even know if they're really buyers, but I see something great and I flip it to them. I'm like, hey, so one of the things that I talk to my very small team about as we're approaching buyers is that there's two reasons to talk to a buyer. One is called the process and the other is called the property, right? So you can get focused on the process. We need to sign a buyer agency agreement. We need to have, your lender letter. I need to verify your funds. Can you please send me 4 years of tax returns? And people are like, oh, like, really? And let's be real, that's required. Like if that stuff is all fried air, then there is no property. So let's be real. But I think the way to engage people is to flip them a property.
Join them on the journey.
Yeah. And especially, as you move up the ladder, if you will, people tend to like more customized service. So if you're just barfing the whole MLS onto people and you're not even contacting them or saying, hey, did you see the one on Sherrier come up? Or if you're not engaging and you're just kind of doing this whole digital barf on people.
Well, you're one more digital
like,
barf.
You engage with me, please. When you're ready, you engage with me. Like, good luck with that.
How does that serve, right?
If you look at the search that you're sending them and you pick out one property to ask them a question about, at least it shows you're engaged. And I guarantee you'll get a comment back like, we hated that one, or, oh, we actually like that one. Should we see it? I mean, you got to do more than just the digital. So I think
keep going.
The quality of your business, which let's say would be two things for me, the balance of life and business, and do you make enough money to live the life that you want, and are you able to do the things you want along with running your business, and do you like the people you're working with, both on your own team certainly and then your clients. I think the quality of your business is going to be 100% determined by the quality of your relationships with people. And so my fear is that a lot of agents think I'm just going to have the best Instagram reel, and I've got the prettiest email banner, and if you're, to me, my advice, you haven't asked for it, but I'll give it to you. If you're not engaging,
that is what you're here for.
If you're not engaging with people, you're missing the boat. So as the market shifts, and let's say we're in a market where things are slowing down, you might want to engage with more people. You might want to look for reasons to engage with more people. You might want to set yourself up on a bunch of MLS searches that you get spoon-fed things to tell people. I mean,
that is some of the best advice, Jeff. It's like, the guy that goes in a bar and wants to pick up, I've used this before, and I could even flip it. Like, you think about the girl who wants to get married and find a man, but she does everything. She wears the makeup and she does the hair and she even reads the book that tells her what to say. And none of it works because of the intention and the engagement and the quality of the relationships behind it. The facade doesn't matter if the intention and journey don't fulfill the real aim and goal.
Yeah. I mean, it's, as many times as I've been around this business and different iterations and different coaches and whatever, like, at the end of the day, it's a contact sport. It's still a contact sport.
It sure is.
You're not contacting, I mean, as in you outgoing, like you picking up the phone, you sending a text. And I think those are the two things that I would actually call are like contact, right? Not like
the rest of it does not count.
2,700 people on my email list. I still think that's necessary, but like that's only like, if you're in a war where they send, the missiles onto the beachhead, if they don't send the troops, then you just got a like blown up beachhead, right? There's nothing going to happen there. You got to send the troops after you soften it with the email. So it's still a contact sport. And I've re-engaged with a bunch of people that are even on my client list, and they're all on like email lists. And so I'm thinking for myself, probably the way a lot of people are thinking, especially when it was slow a couple months ago, like, I need more business. What do I need to do? And my answer was, here's your answer, Jeff. This is still a contact sport. Like, contact, right?
Talk to people.
So
know the market. Be the best and help people.
Yeah, my young associate, I call him my mini-me. He's been with me for 5 years now.
I remember when he was new. Wow.
Yeah. He just had another child. So they have a 1-month-old at home. He's not going out that much, right? He's only going out for appointments. Totally get it. But we're in the mode where we're trying to build, right? So we have this thing where twice a week, and it should be 5 times a week, but I'll be honest with you, twice a week, we have a Zoom meeting, and we literally just sit on Zoom and we reach out to clients. So most of the time we're muted, right? Like he's on the phone, he's muted, and I'm sort of watching him in the background, and he's watching me in the background, and there's really not a lot of sound, but we're like from 11 to 12, we're
It's
going to be
like,
on Zoom, and we're like, like, and we get a lot
yeah.
done, right? Because it's a contact sport. So I
Well,
think,
it's the tribal, it's like the community. People, we just need one another. Like it's that connectivity to the people who support your business and the people who you serve.
yeah, I mean, if you have an appointment with a personal trainer, chances are you're going to the gym that day. Chances are, right? I mean,
Pretty,
if
a
it's like,
lot better.
I gotta get up at 5:30 and I'm just gonna go for a 20-mile run, and you're like, yeah, maybe not. And boom, like it's gone, right? But if you have an appointment with somebody, guess who's showing up? So I don't know. Not everybody works on a team. I mean, it took me a while to develop a team, and I know it's not for everybody. But let's say you're a single agent, no assistant. How about you get an accountability partner? And I kind of almost hate that word. We're accountable to each other. Like, I don't know. How about just show up? Right? So you guys decide Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11, we're going to do client outreach. Let's book a Zoom meeting. You'll sit there, I'll sit there. We'll probably be on mute, but guess who's going to create a lot more momentum in those 2 hours than you would if you had just been, I'm so busy, I'm running around, and guess what? It's dry cleaning, and it's getting lunch, and it's walking the dog, and it's picking up my kids. I'm so busy. Like, but what are you doing like in your real estate busyness, right? Contact sport.
Exactly. What's their journey? What's your engagement? What's the goal? And how is what you're doing serving your goal?
Right. So I use, so here's like another thing, and I imagine like not everybody has access to this, but I was lucky to get invited to, or I guess invited to participate in a group of top agents in Washington, D.C. And our MLS system now basically has disallowed any private listings. So where all the companies used to have, like, here's our private listings right on their website, gone, can't do
Yeah.
it. If I send out an email like that I would normally do to the agent population of the Washington area saying, hey, I have this off-market opportunity, $5,000
Well,
fine.
I
So they,
don't lose your thought, but I want to have to say this for everybody. There's an intention. It's like bureaucracy was created to prevent stupidity, but it's unfortunate how much it actually creates it. That it was used to prevent exclusivity of people and access to information, but it's really just reinforced it.
I mean, so what it's done for the private market in Washington is it's pushed it one layer down,
That's
right?
what I mean.
So you could kind of have private, and you could, like get it out there, and you could do all kinds of things. Every time you do that now, it costs you $5,000. So guess who's not doing that? So now private market is one layer down.
It's just the elitism is to avoid elitism, but it's reinforcing
Forced
it.
it. It forced it even
It's
more,
just so
right?
unfortunate. I mean,
So
I think finish your story, but I just had to plug that in because it's
I
interesting.
I think that rule is just beyond ridiculous. I don't know how MLS can tell an owner of a property how that they are allowed to market their listings. The problem is that we're involved and we need MLS. So if we need MLS for everything else, we have to abide by their rules because we don't want to damage like 90% of our clients' process, right? Because it goes in
Right.
MLS. But for the 10% that don't, we're now like double secret probation. So that's why we called
Exactly.
our group the Speakeasy Club, because like you need a special knock to get in.
Yeah.
It's all,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not super clandestine. I mean, we're
No,
not going to get
but
arrested.
what you're talking about is a very real thing that it's like that's why this podcast is supported by Realtor and all of that is because it's the real stuff, not the political agenda or the bureaucratic agenda of an industry, but like serving the individual, like
Right.
serving the greater purpose. But anyway,
So we now
yeah.
have this meeting that we attend once a month. It's probably 40 of the top agents in Washington. and everyone shows up with their paper of their private listings. I have this one and this one and this one, and they're all printed out and they all get handed out. And so I say that to say that if you are not aware that's going on, it is. And if there's any way you can tap into that in whatever market you're in or create that for yourself, do. And so why do you do all that? Why? Because you now have information, and you actually have information that other people don't. Insider trading, let's be real, it's not illegal, but you have information,
Right.
right?
It's
Now
not
what I
illegal in
do,
real estate. Yeah.
so they forced us to do this. This is the only way we could do
Well,
it, right?
what I
We are
love,
following the rules.
we're following the rules, and I agree. And I think I want to be clear to everybody is the powerful thing about this when we look at this part of our business or any aspect, like a shifting market, whatever direction it's going, the things that seem most inhibitive are our greatest opportunities. Frank Lloyd Wright became an amazing architect because he was willing to build on lots every other architect said were impossible. And as a result of that, he built some of the most beautiful,
Book of work.
famous.
Exactly right.
Exactly. And in our businesses, look at every time there's a shifting market, every time there's a challenge. And I say, a lot of people say, break all the rules. I say, absolutely not. But what you do is that understand the rules so well. Like the gymnast who's the Olympian, the guy who runs a mile in less than 4 minutes when everybody said it was impossible, didn't do it because he broke the rules. There are rules of physics and rules of how things work. But when you understand them that well, you understand how it's about mastering your craft.
You create an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so the
Create
bottom line
opportunity, right back to where we started.
is, I'm sitting in there and I tell my colleagues, they're not all Sotheby's, there are 3 different companies actually, which is the point. And I'm like, I've got buyers looking for this and buyers looking for that. And like, suddenly, let me call you about this. And like, so, on tomorrow, I'm taking a $4 to $5 million buyer out, and 3 of the 6 properties we're seeing are off market. Right. And that's just a sentence in and of itself, which has no value or no meaning. But where the value is I was able to reach out to this guy who's used to the red velvet treatment in life because he's like this big business owner. Right. And I'm like, hey, I've got some special things for you. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? He's not finding them on Redfin. He's finding them with me. Right. So become valuable, like do some extra work, find, and I've got yet another client who, I've known for years, and I won't go into the whole story. And she finally goes, this is a neighborhood I want to be in. I'm like, there's one crappy house for like 11 million. She goes, no, I'm not spending that on that. It needs too much work. I'm like, no problem. I got it. Patient, never any pressure. I reached out to 2 people and I found her, a beautiful $9 million listing and another $6 million listing that nobody knows about. And so I'm valuable to her because I have gotten her something that she can't just go on to Redfin or Zillow or Trulia. Not that she would anyway. She would rely on me to begin with, even to send her listings. But I did. I sent her like 6 properties out of MLS that I pre-screened. She goes, hate them all. She goes, I'm picky. I'm like, totally get it.
Good. Makes my job easier.
Exactly right. Like, we're only going to see what you like. And I totally appreciate that. So my point is, like, whatever you need to do when there's a roadblock thrown up in front of you, find a way around it. And at the end of the day, the way around it is to give yourself an opportunity to have something that your clients need, and therefore you become valuable to them.
Well, what do you think about this, to exactly what you said? Because this podcast is really all about luxury real estate and luxury products, whatever it is. There's this whole, especially, and it seems to, with technology and advancement of, and the world becoming smaller, people pay for access.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's access to the club, access to meeting the person, access to resources, access to the home that they want, they can't find anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
In a shifting market, becoming the resource and access to opportunity that your client can't find anywhere else.
Exactly right. And so I'm using that group and the data that I get from that group to start conversations with all kinds of people.
And your 35 years of experience as a real estate agent
Like,
as
I'm
well as
literally
navigating.
using my phone to take a picture of a house on a piece of paper. Very high tech, very Instagram fabulous, right?
Well,
And I
so
just texted to them and I'm like, hey, I'm in this meeting. I saw this house. It's not on the market. I know you might not be looking, but I thought of you. What do you think of this? And like, I have created deals over that.
right, what you just said, the anti-scripter, Jerry Metcalf, when there's a good quote unquote script, I have to point it out. That was a hell of a script. I know you're not looking, but what do you think of this? When you reach out.
So again, like when you're working with buyers, it's the process or the property. Nobody wants to talk about the process. Nobody.
But they want to be on the journey.
But they want to see the property. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can lob a property at them, and when they respond and you're like, cool, I'm happy to show it to you. By the way, have you called my lender yet? But if you just call them with, by the way, have you called my lender yet? They're like, delete.
Like
Like, you're not hearing
seriously,
back from them.
seriously,
You're not
that's
hearing
being
back from
chased
them.
and
Like,
that's
you can give them something and you can ask something. So then you give them something else and you ask something else. It's part of a fair trade kind of like conversation.
I just keep saying journey, 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 right? Like, what do you say to that? Is it about the journey or is it
100%. You're in a journey with these people, because if they're truly buying or selling, they're on a journey. That's not status quo. Like, we've been in this house for 10 years and we're going to be here for 10 more. They're
yeah,
inflecting in another direction. They're off on another chapter, as I call it, of their lives. That's my kind of thing. Like,
yeah. And the
it's
value that you bring.
chapter for you.
So another thing I want to kind of ask you and kind of share about journeys, access, all of that stuff is some people listening might say, well, I don't have that and I need to get
Create
something
it.
done right now. Well, here's one idea here's one little segue to create it right now as you're on your personal journey to join a journey with your more and more ideal clients is I think all MLSs now do have a coming soon status, and the challenge of that status is you can't show it when it's in that status, and there's all these rules around how you talk about it when it's in that status, hence the bureaucracy issue of the
I'm
world.
showing a coming soon house tomorrow.
So, oh, so, so
You
on
think
that,
I'm running to the MLS board and calling on that
I
agent, going,
love you.
look what they're doing?
So here's well, by the time you show it, they'll just push the active button. But here's the thing about the coming soon status is what I did talk about being access for your clients. It's about their experience. When coming soon every day, looking at what all status changes at least every 24 hours, if not more often. And especially when something pops into a coming soon status, a lot of agents are taking screenshots, or you can't send the link, or it depends on your MLS. But what I would do is I would go drive the property. If I can't drive it, I'll get a picture online, but I would drive it, get in it if I can, and say, hey, this property, make it personal, make it about you're on that journey with them, not just spitting out digital stuff to them and exhausting them and chasing them with the rest of the digital people. Digital is a resource. It is a powerful resource. So use it for the power it brings to what this is. This is a journey with your client. But I would drive it or get the picture of it, or even if it was an online picture, and then I would say, hey, this is coming on. I would have a conversation with the agent because now you're engaged in your journey. And now you're creating this path of access and a journey to join people on and for them to join you on that gets you on that path to exactly these powerful tools
100%.
that you can bring to your clients and your business.
When you call the agent, even if it's incoming soon, and sometimes there's no photos or whatever, and I always ask, and I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of times they say, yes, you can get in, right?
Right.
They're willing to break the rules. And if I can get access, there's no fine in MLS for me showing the house. The listing agent could get a fine, but not the buyer's agent, right? They can't fine me for that. And the point is, like, a lot of times they're like, hey, well, we're doing a photo shoot on Tuesday. You think you could come then? Or, I'm meeting the painter there on Monday afternoon. Could you come then? Because, even if it's coming soon, a lot of times they're having specific appointments at the property. And if it's not too much skin off their back, sometimes they let you in. And the answer is always no if you don't ask. Always, right? So even in a multiple offer situation, I'm the he said, she said. That's not the right. What is it? Is it? That's the one. What is it? Is it? Like, hey,
What is it? Is it?
Is it going to 1,250,000? And they should not answer. They should not say a word. They're like, yeah, it's a little higher than that. I'm like, oh, okay.
What is it? Is it?
Is it going to 1,300,000? And again, they should not answer. And they're like, no, it's not quite that high. And mind you, that
what
might
is it? Is
half
it?
half the time. But guess who has information half the time? That's 50-50 odds on that one, that you're going to get information that can benefit your client when you're one of 15 offers or one of 2 or one of whatever. It doesn't matter. But the point is, you have to ask the question even when you shouldn't, right? And so the other day I was out with clients, and another great tool I would say is, be an old man like me, buy an iPad. Best thing you can do. Why? Because you now have a mobile office. And of course, we all have our phones. This is a valuable tool. So I was out with clients. They came in by referral. We looked at 6 houses. They hated them all. And suddenly they're like, well, what about this? And what about that? And boom, I've got my computer. I've got things that we can see, big photos. We can see maps. We pivoted mid-appointment and we went to see 2 more houses. And they're like, this is more like it. Right? So they could have left Washington on their initial house hunting trip thinking, crap, there's nothing for us. Like, what are we going to do? And my goal was to get them comfortable with, like, there is something for you. And so this tool allowed me to pivot and so the point of this, all of this was, first of all, this, but the second thing was
This being your iPad. Yeah.
the 2 houses that they wanted to see, when I'm pulling up in showing time, they're like 2 hours notice. And I'm like, we're going to be there in 15 minutes. I'm like, crap. I'm like, there's probably not much chance. And I literally go like, oh, they're going to require a 2-hour notice. I don't think we're going to get into these today. And then I'm like, but let me try. It was not my first thought. It was my second thought, right? And so I made the showing request. And even in the little showing thing, if you guys have showing time, it goes, this request is being made, not within the time that, we think we're going to be able to approve this.
I mean, George just won't even let you do it.
3 times everything is like, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, not going to work. And not that I'm some genius, right? But I'm like, well, what do I have to lose? These people are standing here with me. They want to see these houses, and like, boom.
And the listing agent and the seller want to sell it too, by the way.
Right.
Just
well,
remember, right? They all need to remember that.
Both houses were vacant. The very moment that I hit showing request, boom, appointment approved. I'm like, I almost didn't show these houses because it seemed like
just try
in the window. So just try. So bring your iPad.
Or just do it, because try implies failure. Just do it.
Exactly. Just do it. So now, they left town. They were here for a house hunting trip. They need to go back and sell their house. So let's be real. Like, sometimes you're just treading water with clients, but you're not going to get that client if you don't.
But wait, they need to go back and sell their houses, i.e. referral to the broker in their community and a new relationship if they already have a broker, to generate more referrals, to create more opportunities.
I agree completely, except I got it because of the relationship that I had with another broker. So they were referred to me.
Well, there you go. And now it's actually going to happen. I mean, really just reemphasizing your own point, because that's how we met, by the way. We met because we actually met in an elevator at one Sotheby's
met in a bus
event. And I had seen you on a panel and was like, God, that guy looks familiar. And you were like, gosh, he looks familiar. And then we realized we'd seen one another.
Oh, I remember.
I know you.
I saw your videos.
That was
made this like Francis Ford Coppola, like cinematic tour de force of this house where this woman's like leaving rose petals and walking through the stable.
That was my mom, by the way.
Like, who is this? Like, I need to do this. Of course, I never did it because I wasn't as good as you, but that was amazing. That was amazing.
Was so fun.
So like, you created that, and look what became of that. That was a property video, and now we're friends. I mean, like,
and that was digital, but it was using that digital to enhance your journey, not be your journey. Digital cannot be your journey.
Yeah. So it's all brilliant. And I think you just got to try and you got to look for opportunities to create communication with people. And you have to elevate yourself as you elevate them. And, anybody, and I'm sure you all have heard this, like, oh, yeah, we were talking to one agent, but, they just keep sending me these huge MLS updates. And
What does that say about?
so do we. So do we. Sometimes we do that, but the next layer is like, look at it.
Exactly. And know that
Out of
you're on
property
the
and
journey
just
with them.
engage and just say, hey, I saw this one come up. What do you think? Like, that's all they want. They want to know that you're engaged and you're a part of the process. So there's so much
That's the value.
that can
Okay,
be
question.
created.
So I recognize I just interrupted you. Did you, because I want to point something out to you, because we've got
No,
a
we're
couple
good.
minutes. Okay. So are you aware of the time? I just bought a few minutes, so I've got 8 minutes if you do our final three. Because we can't have a Jere Metcalf podcast top real estate agent tell how they do an interview without a top three, without the final three. So are you ready? Or how are you?
Yes. I just
Okay.
double check my calendar.
First one, and you just shared one that probably could be in. But as you look at either from this interview or in your career, what has been a most powerful resource for your success? Like that iPad could be one, but maybe there's a new one we should talk about.
I would say the iPad, and I know that's pretty crazy, but I actually quite like it because if you're on an appointment, you can pull up even the house they're in, and then the map is there, and you could hit the map and you can expand the map, and you're like, see, you're 4 blocks to this, you're 6 blocks to the access to the highway. Like, you can elevate their understanding of that house. You can provide context, right? So let's just say they see
Mm,
only one house, they have no context, right? But you can provide context with the iPad right then and there. So I keep,
nice.
I feel like it's an old man tool, but I think it's super, super powerful. And you can really make the most of your time when you're with somebody, because if they've got 3 things on their possibilities list and you don't have appointments at them and all the first ones are not doing good and you need to pivot to round 2 or to increase the price range and see the one 3 doors down, or look at the sign and go, hey, let's see what that one looks like, you've got your tool right there that you don't have to make a whole other appointment. So how efficient is that for you? Like, if
Yeah.
you've got a 2 hour scheduled appointment and you're at the 1 hour mark and it's not going well, and you can use the next hour to be more effective. And it also shows them, like, I'm watching and this is not working and I can see this isn't working and I'm now going to make it work for you. I mean,
Tools
what
for engagement on the
what a
journey.
great opportunity you have when you're with people, is to pivot if you need to.
So yeah, it's all about having the knowledge, tools, and access to be the access to engage people on their ideal journey for their goals.
Mhm.
What we've always got to name the book. What is a book that has really, there's this saying, if you want a better life, if you want a better business, work on yourself. What has been a book that you would say, this book made me a better person? I wouldn't be the same person without it. I wouldn't have the same career without it.
So there's been a lot of them, a lot. The latest one, which I found right before the pandemic, and it was like ripping through my life like, a backhoe in a good way. Essentialism.
That is a great. I think I actually read that one. There's this essentialism, and
Yeah.
then there was essentialism, and then what? Because essentialism is like do what's essential, and then he
Well,
wrote
it's called,
another.
the tagline is the disciplined pursuit of less.
Oh, and it's not minimalism, not to be confused. Now there
Not
was another one that he wrote, and I'm going to look it up right now because it was essentialism. And then he had another book. Was it before or after? And I ended up reading both because of you, but it was essentialism and I don't see it. And I'm going to find it for us while we're on this because I think this is so powerful. But the author, everybody, do you remember the author's name?
I
The
think it's
author is
Craig
George McCune.
George. Yeah, I was saying Craig, but yep, McCune. It's just a good book. And so it talks about everything from the clutter in your home to, if you will, the clutter in your calendar, all the things that you say yes to that may not be essential and may not truly be your best use of your time and your resources and your focus and your energy. And it clearly talks about business. Like, what are you doing on your daily thing that is essential? And so when we're if we have the blessing of being blind busy, like, oh my God, I'm like in the car, I'm going from this to that, I'm 5 minutes late, like I'm calling my assistant, write this offer, like I'll call you back with the details if you're just like, and I'm kind of in that mode where just like I'm literally on the phone with my assistant between appointments all day, asking her to keep things moving and keep the pressure off me, even though the pressure's on, whatever. I love that. I survive well in that mode. But, if you're not, so if you're in that mode, guess what you're doing? Only the essential things, because you are truly going from one thing to the next, and you only have time to do the very most high priority things that have to be done next, right? That's
Mhm.
essentialism in its
It's in
purest.
a flow.
The problem is that most of us are, including myself, are not in that mode 24/7, 365. So there's other days where you're like, yeah, I'm going to like work on this email. It takes you all day.
Uh-huh. Or like social media.
Right.
So the other book, by the way, Essentialism, he wrote that book. And if you read Effortless, I don't know if you've read that one, but it's How to Make the Essentials Effortless. And a lot of that, as I remembered, it's been a while, was prepare. This is my words, not his, but the message was, it's like he said, I wrote this book, Essentialism. And then I was like, wait, like, what's still essential? I feel like such a hypocrite. And he wrote the book Effortless. And the book Effortless talks about how to making the essential acts effortless and how to still get it done. And a lot of it has to do with determining it's a process for determining what's really essential and preparation. A lot of it came down to preparation, really. But
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
well, not every,
Essentialism and effortless.
yeah. So I'm supposed to, and I'm not exactly consistent the way I should be, is write down my daily plan for the next day, like the night before.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I had this beautiful list of clients that I wanted to reach out to. And then I had a client that needed me to go see 2 properties that she just listed with me yesterday. Guess whose day was screwed up? Mine. And screwed up in a lovely way. We listed, like $2.6 million worth of properties in like 2 hours. So I'm not complaining, but
That was kind of nice.
guess who still has the list? Guess who still has people that need to be talked to today? Me. Lucky me. I'm not complaining, but the
Yeah.
point is, stuff happens and you have this best laid plan and you have to pivot. I needed to, that was the essential thing to do right then and there.
Yeah.
The rest of it could wait until later that day or today, because that's
Well, when
where it
you,
was.
right. And when you do that thing of looking at your day the day before and things come up, you can more easily navigate how to prioritize what's essential. And still, you can very often bring in the other things into the new things added to your day with a focus on the priority,
Yeah, guess what? You're not going to get as far down your client calls when you are serving a client that you didn't even know you had, and now
which is a
takes three
it's just an
hours out of
opportunity.
your day. 3 hours. So, I'm not Superman. I can't stretch the time space continuum and give
Oh,
myself
but you
three
are,
hours
Jeff
more a
Wilson.
day. No. Um, so those 3 hours need to move to another day. It's not that hard, but it does kind of focus like, in this moment, is that essential? And the answer is no. This is
Yeah,
essential in this moment, and that will change moment by moment.
beautifully said. Thank you. Last question. If we forget, because now we are like on the minute, time to go. If we if we remember only one thing from you today, what do you hope that that is?
Connect with people personally.
Mm. Connect with people personally. Thank
Yeah,
you.
like I'm paying attention to you, I'm seeing you, I'm thinking about you, I'm doing something for you, even though you haven't asked. Nobody does that. I mean, let's be real. Nobody does that. Like, try and reach a company these days, like even just to talk to somebody at a
Isn't
huge
that
company that huge
interesting?
call centers. Like, I had to call a bank today and I had to call a credit card company. You know how many inputs I had to do just to get to a person?
Think about like the obstacle is the opportunity. The obstacle, client experience, obstacles, opportunity. Like the
Yeah,
desired client experience, what is the obstacle brings your opportunity.
yeah. Make it easy to do business with you. I had somebody was saying on
Well,
a
make it easy to do business with you. Mic drop on, like, that was a good one. Make it easy to do business with you. And now we have a story. What's the story? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt with you, but I wanted people to hear that because we're closing this. All right, give us the story. I'm so
I
sorry,
mean, there's
Jeff.
not
Go
really a
ahead.
story, but I was on
Yeah.
a call with, a group of agents the other day from around the country, and one of the comments was, answer your phone. Like, that seems pretty basic, but I am guessing that half of your coaching clients are not so good about truly answering their phone. Like, maybe they'll wait to hear a voicemail or they'll
Not
respond.
my coaching clients, Jeff.
I hope
Not
not,
mine.
but
Maybe
answer
the
your phone.
podcast listeners, but if they're coaching clients, absolutely. I'm kidding.
Answer
We're
your
all
phone.
people.
And they
Yeah.
even suggested, and here's the extra little piece I'll give you, put it in your bio. Like, that's actually a feature these days. I answer my phone. And you literally put it in writing in my bio. Like, I do this, I do that, and I answer my phone.
I
And
mean,
she
seriously,
said,
there's something to take away. That's huge. That, like, how easy is that?
yeah. And let's face it, we all get these spam robocallers, and hopefully your iPhone, definitely get an iPhone. This whole thing of like your
Because they'll
message
tell you
or
spam risk when the phone rings.
yeah.
Awesome.
So anyhow, yeah, avoid the spam calls, but otherwise answer your phone. And I've had two people call me, I'm not exaggerating, within the span of 7 days saying, hey, I saw your listing at the Waterview. It's a $2.5 million property. You know, can we see it today? And I'm thinking, in most worlds, I'd be like, hell no. Like, who are you? Like, I'm not spending. And I'm like, I know who you are. I know who you are. You're some couple who owns a home, who's like popping around on a Saturday, and they just came from brunch and now they're looking at realtor.com on their phones while they're having their latte. And they're like, honey, do you think we should go see this?
Well,
And
and
guess what? Both times they were real buyers. They both owned houses in Chevy Chase, Maryland, like $2 to $6 million houses.
yeah.
I'm tooling them around in the neighborhood, the building. I'm talking to them about this and that. And well, here's your other choices in other buildings if this isn't the right fit for you. One of them wrote an offer.
Yeah.
It was too low, and the sellers are like, no, we're not doing that. And the other one, I'm probably going to be working with to spend $1 million over what this property was, because I
Wow.
answered my phone 2 times and I was willing to show up.
And,
Good news, I had time.
but back to engagement journey, access, you engaged, you joined them on your journey. And then going back to the digital component gives you power when people call you. You can figure out who people are really quickly, opposed to what you used to be able to do because of our digital access and power that we have in the real
Yeah.
estate and in just the
I mean,
world
it
today.
was
It's
just
awesome.
good. I mean, my whole thing, and this could be another little nugget for you, is when people call you, they are real.
I laugh because like they're people. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Jeff, you are
mean,
awesome.
they're real. Like, every
Yeah.
time my phone rings and there's like, hey, I was called, I'm like, you're mine. I already cashed that commission check, because 95% of the time, if somebody actually picks up the phone to call you, my experience is they're older. They're used to getting direct access to
Yeah.
people and information. They're not like, let me go to Zillow and calculate the price per square foot on this unit. They want advice. They want to talk to somebody. They want it to be a back and forth conversation in that moment. And you can't do that on email. You
When
can't.
somebody calls you, they're real and ready.
Well, they
All
may
right, Jeff, we
not be
gotta
ready,
go.
they may
Yeah.
be in their process, but they're
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Answer
Well,
your phone.
ready for engagement to be a client. And by the way, they are access to more opportunities when you serve them.
Yeah. And in that instance, both times I was able to get face to face with them and to demonstrate my value. I wasn't like, oh, this is the best property. Oh, you have to buy this. Look at the view. You're not going to find this anywhere else. I'm like, hey, what do you think? Have you seen a view better than this? Or what other buildings are you looking at? Did you know that this and that? And so like, I was able to show them that I absolutely knew the market that they were looking in. And I proved my value. And now I have a relationship with these people. They trust me, that I'm not just trying to push them into one property, but that I'm being their advisor to help them assess their options and make the best choice.
And something important you showcased in that was it's asking questions and listening is part of how you really provide people value and give them access and engage them on their journey and become a real resource to them. All right, we both got to go. This has been so awesome, Jeff. Thank you so much for this
Thank you.
Amazing interview. I mean, so many gems and so many just nuggets of invaluable information. You're amazing.
So are you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. Powered by Breakthrough Luxury Coaching, this podcast was created for real estate agents across the world, coming together, sharing ideas that take their businesses to the next level. Breakthrough Luxury Coaching and membership provide luxury real estate agents tools and resources that win more business, increase volume and sales prices, and create results. To learn more, go to getstarted.breakthroughluxury.com.